Om. Namaste to all. Today we have a very interesting topic. I think I may have given this talk in an independent setting, possibly sometime back, but I wanted to kind of redo this in a more phased manner with a multi-week, a 3-week process. So the idea is we are going to listen to the advice of Lakshmi, because all of us like prosperity, and even if you are a person who has renounced, you are not going to give up the means of prosperity for the society. So we are going to do this 3-part talk. It's based, the first article is already out. This was written several years ago. Secrets of Prosperity, advice from Goddess Lakshmi. The second part, today's talk will be focused on where Lakshmi likes to reside. What is her usual place of residence? And in our case, since all of us have some sort of wealth, right? Otherwise, who is sitting on a Makara Sankranti time, early morning with a phone in clubhouse? So we have a little bit of prosperity in our life, though we would like to have more. So the first and foremost thing is to understand where does Lakshmi reside, and if we are doing anything that we should fix it. Next week, we will take a deeper dive and understand that which are the places or what are the activities that we can do to attract Lakshmi in our life. And the week after that, the third week, we will look at what happens if you do some of the activities and how does that put off Lakshmi. So today is more like going to be a concise version of both do's and don'ts. And next week is going to be more like do's, and the week after that is going to be don'ts. The focus, normally what happens when we all want money and we associate Lakshmi with money. We don't understand she is the goddess of all Aishwarya. It's not only limited to only wealth. She is also responsible for Dana, Danya, Putra, Pautra, all sorts of wealth. And unfortunately, our sick mind has today gotten this myopic idea, almost like polar opposite of our ancestors, that more money and only for me. We don't think like if more people prosper, that it will also help us. We have lost all those elevated thoughts. And because of that, we are not able to grasp one interesting point what Lakshmi is saying. Because Lakshmi doesn't say where she will come. Okay, you do puja for me, I'll come and stay there. Nope, not even one time she says that. She doesn't tell like these are the conditions that favor me because of what is conducive to me. No. Her entire premise is all this prosperity is rooted in our guna and karma. We will see a little bit insight this week, but more of it the next 2 weeks. And you will be surprised to see that Lakshmi is only talking about our guna and karma, just like it is like a spiritual journey. She is not talking about like you go buy less, sell high, like stock market trading kind of thing. She is not bothered about those. One would be thinking that she would be giving you accounting tips or finance advice, whereas all Lakshmi is talking about, her thought process, her guidance, her advice to us is centered on only one thing, that we have to transform our guna and karma. And our guna and karma is going to guide whether she is going to come to that place, whether she is going to pass through that place, whether she is going to stay there, whether she is going to run away from there. Everything depends on our guna and karma. Isn't that interesting? That we have the ability to attract her and to also repel her. So, today's talk is going to be set up in Mahabharata. After the 18th day, Yudhishthira is so heartbroken because 18 Akshaunis have died for no reason in his mind. Although it was a Dharma Yuddha, he is very deeply disturbed. So what he does, he is not interested in ruling and things like that. Whom to rule? Because all the good Kshatriyas are all killed. All relatives gone. So the frustrated and dejected and depressed Yudhishthira is confronted by Krishna. He says, let's go to Bhishmacharya. He will fix your brain. He will he will clear your confusion. So he goes to Bhishma, and who is in a bed of arrows, and he gives for the next several weeks wonderful advice on all topics related to dharma. What is abad dharma? What is samanya dharma? What is raja dharma? What is vishesha dharma? What is tri dharma? What is all sorts of things? What for each varnas, what they should do, what they shouldn't do, everything. And that comprises the biggest book of the 18 books in Mahabharata, the biggest parva. And if you look at the following parva, Anushasana parva, put together Anushasana parva and Shanti parva comprise close to 55 to 60% of the slokas. That means like 2/3, probably not 2/3, we should say, like 3/5 of the entire book is just 2 chapters or 2 books. That should give you the importance of studying this book with the right mindset, which is exactly what we need to do. And here is, in the course of questions, one of the questions that comes in Anushasana Parva to Yudhishthira is that he wanted to know, who does Lakshmi favor? Who does she serve? How does she come and how can we attract her, and how can we get the benefits of Lakshmi's grace? So Bhishma said, there was an incident some time back. Interestingly, Bhishma was very, very, very well connected. People don't know this. Bhishma knew that Karna was Kunti's son before the battle. Not way before, just before that. because Narada came and gave that information to him. So Bhishmacharya was quite well informed of a lot of things that happened around the country, around the world, different lokas, different timelines. And one such time, what happened? Rukmini Devi was worshipping Lakshmi, and Lakshmi gave a darshan to her, and Krishna was with her. So Rukmini had a doubt. She asked, see, what is the cool thing about people who are Mahatmas, people who are sadhus and things like that? When they hang around, they talk about elevated topics. Unlike normal people, let's say like if you are into IPL, so what do? You talk about statistics of this person or that person, this group or that group. If you are a person into, you talk about politics, you talk about geopolitics. That's all we talk. But when avatars, great Mahatmas, they get together, they talk dharma, what are the secrets, what are the subtleties of it, so on and so forth. Here, see, we sometime back we saw that Anusuya Devi, the wife of Atri Maharishi, when Rama and Sita went to see Atri Maharishi, Sita and Anusuya had a discussion. On what? Part of it was on Sita's marriage and things like that. But part of it was wonderful advice as how Sita can have a wonderful marital bliss and use Grahasthashrama as a vehicle to elevate herself. Imagine that. Then, same thing even if one-sided, like if you are finding like people who are only one-sided, like Vidura, when he came in contact with Dhritarashtra, he told all good things. But when Dhritarashtra was depressed, it turned out to be Viduraniti. When Yama came in contact with Yudhishthira, it became Yaksha Prashna. When Nahusha came in contact with Yudhishthira, he wanted to know, it was Nahushopakyana. So you find when great people, when they come in contact, right, they interact on very high topics. See, when Draupadi and Rukmani, Satyabhama came in contact, Satyabhama asked some subtleties of how the secrets of a woman who is having wonderful Grahasthashrama relationship. As simple as that. So here we have Rukmini and Lakshmi Devi having interaction. This is almost like self-talk. Both of them are same only, right? Rukmini is the avatara of Lakshmi. But nonetheless, the question is from Rukmini, who are you near? Who are you always residing in? Whose proximity do you favor? And Krishna was listening to this conversation, and this information, Krishna was not only listening to Lakshmi advising Rukmini, Krishna was also listening to Bhishma relaying the message to Yudhishthira. If he had told something wrong, he would have intervened. As we see many question and answer sessions, occasionally there is a reference of Krishna and he jumps in and he gives a couple of words of acceptance, that things like that. But here we don't find any response from Krishna, which basically implies that he acknowledged all the facts told by Bhishmacharya. So the very first thing Lakshmi is saying is, I want you all to ponder about these points. If there are a lot of points, I want you to go and use the reference article, which will give you a lot of information. So use this if you are going to apply this in your life. This today being Makara Sankranti in India, in the US we already had today, but wish you all a wonderful Makara Sankranti. And in this auspicious day, we are listening to the words of advice from Lakshmi on how we can attain prosperity. The very first thing she says is having proper control of our tongue. The words that come out of our mouth can determine our prosperity or not. Isn't that true? You could do all the right things, but you open the mouth at the wrong time. Guess what happens? Everything, all the good work you did goes down the drain. So, it is very important that we understand the importance of our tongue control. Second thing is, she says, being energetic, excited. That is very important for Lakshmi, for her to come and settle in our place. If you are a lethargic person, she is not interested. Have you ever seen a person who is a drunkard or a person who is a lazy guy, tamasic guy, attracting Lakshmi? That person may have a lot of wealth. Don't get fooled by the presence of wealth alone as an indicator of presence of Lakshmi. Like a lot of people are there in India doing corruption. They have a lot of money. Today they are on the top. In due course of time they end up where they should. So being energetic is very important. Staying focused on the task on hand. You have a task and you are focused on what you need to do. So that is very important, that having that right focus. The other thing she says is, where there is no anger. You remember, like sometime back, like 1 year ago, we discussed this topic in detail on the importance of forgiveness. What is lack of forgiveness? That continuing rage or anger inside the heart that is still burning bright. That is lack of forgiveness, right? So what she says is, if you are having anger and you have given up and you are completely controlled that, that's what you are wanting to have to attract Lakshmi. And then she would go and stay in that place. She also goes and stays in a place where there is lot of respect for the devas. You can't now, every single natural force you have, if you respect that, let's say that we don't respect rain. See, in US, they never respected nature. The mighty Colorado River, which created all this Grand Canyon and things like that for millions of years, today is bone dry because they have consistently abused in the last several decades after they built all those dams on the water usage. So today there is prosperity in all the places where the water is being used. But have they respected the Varuna Deva? Have they respected Indra there? No. So they are paying the price today because the places where all the lot of population has built up, they cannot get the water now. Now they are waking up and saying, oh, we shouldn't have done all these things. Yeah. So today already California, amongst multiple reasons, it is started losing population. It's not going in reverse, but it is bleeding a lot of population. And in due course of time, it will start bleeding population out of it. So question is, are we respecting the devas? And then the most important thing, are you being thankful? A person who is having that gratitude, that thankfulness, that is where Lakshmi is going to stay. If you don't, if somebody did a small help, but if you are going to be thinking that, you know what, that is such a trivial help, anybody could have done, or are you thinking like, wow, that person, you know what, that particular time, if he didn't help me, what is your attitude? That is going to determine whether Lakshmi is going to stay or she is going to pack the bags. And also a person who has taken his desires into his control, such a person is going to be the place, the abode of Lakshmi. And also you have high ideals in your mind. That is another indicator of a good location where prosperity is going to keep on adding its value. You see all these characteristics, none of them talk about you doing puja, you bribing Lakshmi, like we do, right? Like Lakshmi puja, okay, we do arti and we do all these things. What Lakshmi is talking about is your guna karma transformation. She is not talking about how many times you do puja, how many times you fall at her feet. She is least bothered about those kind of things. So keep that in mind, that you want to focus on getting these qualities. Okay. The other list of things what she says is people, these are the people, she keeps going back and forth between people where she stays and favors and the ones she doesn't. So let's follow her train of thought, whereas the article which I have put, it basically is taking the essence of it and putting a little bit of my spin and giving it. So let's stick with Lakshmi's flow of thoughts. She says, one who is careless in doing whatever work. You know, you are driving a car, you are not careless. You are like doing checking your phone while driving. That's not a good thing. So, being careless. Second thing is a person who doesn't have faith in either himself, that is his Atman, or Paramatman. Such a person is going nowhere. If he has a faith in himself, even if it is the wrong self, like he thinks it's the body, it's this, that, at least he has some faith. And as he starts correcting it, he starts landing it on his real nature as Atman. Whereas the person who is having no faith in Bhagavan, he has no hope. So either you have to start with the hope on yourself or hope in Bhagavan. And then a person who is completely under the control of lust, a person who has given up gratitude, a person who is, now this is another important thing, she talks about cleanliness. Now when she talks about cleanliness, she is talking about both physical and mental, external and internal cleanliness. She talks about both. And then she talks about people who use harsh words. Choice of, if you have a choice between, now if I gave an example today morning, it's a lot easier to realize. When you are saying harsh words, it doesn't mean that you use loud words. It's a question of like choice you have. Let's say that you are staying on one side of the room and there is this small baby, a toddler, that wants to go and touch the plug point. If you say, "Oh, little one, don't touch," it will go and touch it. To disastrous consequence. There you are going to say, "Stop!" You are going to scream, "Stop!" And the child is in a state of shock. And in that state of shock, either it listens to you or you can gain some distance and you can take control of the situation. But when you normally interact with people, do you use soft, kind words or are you using harsh words? What is the choice of words we are using? And if you are using harsh words, then prosperity is not the right destination you are going to attain. Then you are also talking about people who are into stealing, theft, that sort of thing. Also, folks who are not respecting the elders and not respecting their gurus, and they speak negatively about them or spread enmity with them, such folks are not going to be the receptors of Lakshmi's grace. Then there is another interesting thing she says. People who have strength, energy, like like a life, all those things, if they are feeling very, very low, if you are having low energy, low strength, like very low standards in life. Now it doesn't mean that, say for example, she doesn't say that you have to go and spend money. What she says is, hey, are you clean? She doesn't say that you show your extravagance. All she says is, are you attentive to what you should be doing? So the standard is very subtle, but it is very, very clear in its purpose and in its destination. So that is very clear. Now the other thing is, there are folks, for no reason they are always upset. Like they have such a long face, If they you don't even know why they have such a long face. It's so striking at times that what is the problem? Like you can tell them, hey, I know that you have problem 1, 2, 3, 4, but can't you overcome that? So such people who have low energy, always in a sad, melancholic mood, people who are always quick to anger, those are all people who are gonna repel Lakshmi's stay. Remember, today we are looking at about Lakshmi's place of stay. Next week, we will focus on what we need to do to attract. So here we also have a combination of our guna and karma as the only focus for what Lakshmi is interested in. And I want all of us to look at where we are dropping the ball. And if we are already doing all the right things, can we increase the standards? You can say, I am not an angry person. Okay, maybe I am dropping the ball somewhere else. So it is a question of our introspection. This list is not only exhaustive and big, but the thing is that it is wanting us to, it is not complete by any means, it is wanting us to start thinking about it. And a person who is always contented, he is not interested in taking somebody else's stuff, So those kind of people who are contented, that is a good thing. But there are people who are never contented. They look at their neighbor, oh, that person has this person has this person. Always this comparative mode. That is not a good thing. And then some people don't want to do any effort, but they want all the desired outcome. And that is also not gonna lead you to prosperity, according to Lakshmi. Now you may be wondering, is Lakshmi a new age Baba? She is giving all these wonderful tips. If you are feeling like that, you need to understand all our Shastras are filled with this kind of wisdom. All these new age Babas, Dadiwalas, sad gurus, they just steal this and they just tell it as if it is their content. If you crack open the Itihasa Puranas, you will find the same thing. Just because you saw TV Mahabharat and you know the story doesn't mean that you know all this information. And that is the reason why we should take effort to crack open Itihasa Puranas and study it ourselves. All this information is available. And these are the same things people steal and they make bestsellers as books in the West. So if you are not going to make effort, you are not going to be prosperous, according to Lakshmi, which is common sense. And also there are people who are very, very see, there are two things, right? You are not necessarily contented. Contentment is one good thing, but here what she is saying is you need to stretch because desire is the engine. So if you are stretching your mind and say, I want more, you are going to work more harder. So it is going to be an expansive idea, which is very interesting to understand. If you are saying, I am going to be contented, I am not going to do any work. Now that may work well for spirituality. But if you want prosperity as a society, you need to go after goals, ambitions, dreams, desires and make it happen. So there you can't say that we will have limited things. If everybody is thinking limited, then the GDP also won't grow. That's exactly what she's talking about. If you want overall prosperity, then you need more things. But that doesn't mean things alone represent her. So it is kind of like very difficult to walk through the fine line to get exactly what she is talking about. Then she talks about if you are, it doesn't matter what varna you are or what ashrama you are you doing your swadharma? If you do your swadharma, then she is going to be very pleased So it doesn't matter. So if your Swadharma is not the fancy thing which you are proposing to do, she is not bothered. But if your Swadharma includes only things which may look very boring and monotonous, it doesn't matter. She is only worried about, are you doing your Swadharma? Are you doing your duties? You are taking care of your responsibilities. Right? And also serving the elders. Are you doing that? Are you able to regulate your desires? Now, again, she brings back this idea of desire multiple places. And another place she says you can't be over contented. Now, it looks like mutually conflicting. But the conflict is there only in our mind because we didn't understand it. What she is saying is that desire has to be in line with your Swadharma. And then you are not driven by desire, you are driven by Swadharma. That's what she is trying to impress upon us. The other thing is, she talks about our ability to forgive others, the ability to act energetically with putting forth our burst of energy. Also, I already told you forgiveness, and also sense control. Now she deliberately shifts the focus from gender specific. Her entire focus is now aimed at women. Now immediately the feminazis and male chauvinistic people will come and say like, hey, she's talking only to women. It's natural because two women are talking, Rukmini and Lakshmi, and the topic is talking, she is going to give special emphasis about women. Is there any surprise there? But what she tells is not gender specific. Although she says, in such women I will dwell, it also means that the man is equally responsible for creating that ecosystem. So when it comes to women, she is saying like, hey, are folks serious about doing service to elders? Are you having forgiveness as your nature? Are you focused on putting forth all your effort with all your good skill? Those are important things that she is looking for in a woman. But again, it's the same for man also. Let me underline that, make it in bold and make it flash. It is advice may be given to women. It is not only for women. Because women should not think like, oh, all advice, she wants only us to be like this. We are not given some slack. Why can't we be lazy? Well, these are not rules which I made up. This is what Lakshmi is looking for. She also talks about being honest and speaking Satya, and always keeping Satya at the focus. The women who focus on worshipping the Devas and Atithis and Brahmanas, she favors those people because why? That natural qualities are gonna also pull other wonderful qualities into your life, which is going to attract prosperity. Also, if you go to some house, it will be like a bomb just went off. So she says, if the house is more, the women who give focus to organizing their house, that doesn't mean that your house is like a museum or like a operation theatre. All it means is that Are you paying attention to your house? Instead of putting everything in a pile in different corners, are you keeping it organized? It's very obvious to understand what she is saying and what she is implying. She also says, here this is again, she is casting it as for women, but I would argue it is both ways, that where there is a constant quarrel between husband and wife, she says she doesn't stay with that woman. Now, the same thing is true, because maybe you have to give some latitude to Lakshmi. She is assuming that the guy here is already dharmic, and because she is talking to Rukmini and addressing only women. But flip the equation, if the woman is dharmic and the guy is not, and he is not letting her follow Swadharma, obviously Lakshmi is not going to reside in that guy either. So let's be fair enough in understanding and interpreting these things. Also, some people are always interested in what is happening in other people's house. So in Yaksha Prashna, there is a question. Yaksha is asking, how does Brahmanatva die? When does Brahmanatva die? To Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira says, Paravada. Paravada means talking about others. If you keep talking about others, then there is no Brahmanatva there. Hey, this person did this, that person did that. So when you look at all the TV serials, if women are just watching TV serials, they can guarantee and write it to themselves that prosperity is slowly slipping away. And that is why you will find in India, after the TV soaps and serials have started coming, the standard of life in a house has gone down very bad, because it has started messing with the woman's mind, the promoting adharma, and also the guy is also who is watching, and it's not only a waste of time, it is also a promoter of adharma. So some women who do are not only women, whoever does this comparison, oh my house, this house, oh next neighbor's house they bought this, the opposite house they bought that, my relative bought this, we need to keep up with the Jones. When we keep thinking, comparing like that, we are not going to attract Lakshmi. She says, like, who is not humble? The lady, women who are not, again women and men who are not having humility, she is not going to stay with them. On the other way, if there is a husband-wife harmony, with supported by good conduct, she likes that kind of place. She also wants to focus on, like, for example, if you are having there are a lot of people I have seen, they will buy a lot of clothes, but they will never use them. They are all for buying and keeping. They will be still comfortable with the same 4-5 clothes. Then why did you buy all that? Because I want. What Lakshmi is saying is, show your vibrance in your clothing, in your attire, in your jewelry, whatever. Now she doesn't say like go buy all these things with 10 EMI costs, you give them and then you buy them, get into debt. No, that's not what she's saying. Let's say that you have only some toned clothes. Can you keep it clean? Can you wear them clean? Wash them and wear them. So when it comes to attire, she expects you to pay attention to that. And remember, you also can look at it from a psychological way. If you are going to pay attention to your attire, that means others are also going to pay attention to you. And this is exactly stolen by the Western New Age Babas. All these ideas are all stolen. So if you go and study Mahabharata on a periodic basis, or Ramayana or Bhagavatam, you are going to get so many nuggets. There is no limit to this wisdom that you will find. Okay, continuing with the conversation of Rukmani and Lakshmi. When we speak truth, we also, what we do is we develop attractable qualities, standards that are high. And we also have another thing, women who have excellent, good characteristics, attributes. What is the diamond necklace to a woman filled with the deceit? The most prettiest woman filled with the deceit, they have no value. Whereas a woman may not be physically attractive in the eyes of other people, but if she is filled with all the wonderful traits, Lakshmi is going to go running behind that person. So, like again, the emphasis is on guna, karma, transformation. Guna is your intrinsic nature, which will change at all times. So, if you want to change, you can change that guna. But if you have a guna, but if it is not expressed, that's what you are doing in karma, right? The expressed guna is karma. So she is talking about having higher standards, right? And also, people who are, especially in this case, we have to make it gender neutral, but she is addressing in the sloka as woman, but these are gender neutral. Like people who are filled with sinful thoughts. When we say sinful, we should say adharmic thoughts or papa thoughts. People who are not disposed to cleanliness. We come from a society where every day taking multiple times bath, this, that was the standard. But today, we are aping the West. We don't even understand what we are doing. And then there are people who keep, biting their nails or licking their corners of their lips all the time, or things like that, like cleanliness related, hygiene related. If we compromise those, we are not going to attract prosperity. And also, people who lose their patience, or people who lose their mental strength, or people who are always interested in others' topics, or people who are always interested in picking up quarrels. There are some people who are like, hey, what are you talking to? Are you talking about me? There are some characters like that. There are some people who are again like prone to being lazy, tamasic, sleepy, dullards. Those are not folks who are going to find favor with Lakshmi. And also, we are talking about places of where Lakshmi resides, right? So the places where she resides is, how many of you understand the importance of transportation? And if you look at the GDP of many countries, like Japan, Germany, transport industry has a very significant part in it. Manufacturing new cars or whatever. India now in the last, from 2014 we were number 10th, now we are number 3rd in the world. We have overtaken even Japan in terms of the number of automobiles sold. So, what Lakshmi says is, wherever there is transportation vehicles. And in this case, back in the day, all transport was associated with animals, right? Like, say, bullock cart, horses, or maybe donkeys, maybe elephants. So, both the transport vehicle and the animals associated, she was involved, which basically sits well with our modern understanding. I just gave you an example. That India's GDP is growing, indicator is because we have the corresponding growth in the number of vehicles, automobile population also. Then there is also importance. She says where there are virgin women, she prefers to stay with them. Now here is some very interesting thought. Unlike the desert cult, which is only centered on, their entire thought process is centered on physical intimacy. That's all they can think. But in Sanatana Dharma, women are given very high respect, is on one side, and the other thing is protection also. So, if you look at any society where there is no respect for women, and the most fragile is the virgin woman, because what happens to her? In India, in many parts, even today, we are respecting virgin women, girls, and like Kumaris, right? We worship them, even puberty girls, we respect them. In fact, even puberty in many places, they celebrate. It's a big event too. Why? We respect women. Look at what happened to China. 30 years only they followed this one child policy. They already had a bias towards male child. So today we have about 3 to 4 crores or 30 to 40 million men more than women. So even if a girl says, I am ready to marry you, there is no girl for 30 to 40 million men. Look at what impact it will have on the society. So, Lakshmi says, in a society where there is respect given to girls, with especially virgin as an indicator, she resides in that place. Same way, when you look at Lakshmi, do you think a dull, drab, no jewelry kind of thing, or you think of lot of glitter and gold, right? So same way, there's a lot of, she resides in those kind of jewelry because it's a sign of prosperity. She also resides in places where there is lot of yaga, yajnas, where there is rain-bearing clouds, where there are water bodies filled with lotus. How many of you have gone to village and ponds and lakes and seen lotus? It is increasingly becoming rare. Whereas, even 100 years ago, you had so many places filled with all these water bodies are now at risk, number one. Wherever there is a water body, now they fill it up and they build a like a house or a road or something like that. So that is the first problem. Second problem we have is those water bodies are now infested with all sorts of invasive species like Eichhornia, which literally pollute it and make it into a marsh, into polluted sewer, literally. So, if you are showing a water body filled with lotus, what does that tell? It is brimming with lot of natural ecosystem elements. Lakshmi also resides in places where, again I told you about, where there are elephants, where there are cows, where there is nice furniture and things like that. We already saw quite a few. And she also gives another indicator where there is the sound of these water birds. again an indicator of a healthy water ecosystem, water body, because water bodies are in India, there is a strong correlation between a healthy water body and the prosperity of that place, because we are always a monsoon uh, driven farm economy. Then there is also important things what she says is where there is gentle flowing brooks. Now, if there is a gentle flowing brook, what does that mean? Or rivers? There, have you ever gone to a river where there is a natural sound of flowing water? And if there is not enough water, you will not get that flowing water sound. If the water is flowing like in a flood, that means it is destructive. So, look at the choice of words of Lakshmi, that she stays in a place where there is the gentle sound of flowing water. She will stay there. So much emphasis is given to nature and us respecting nature. Also, where there is give me a second. Where there is a respect for Brahmanas, that means the Brahmana has to be a Brahmana. If a Brahmana is not even being a Brahmana, then the first person who is abusing the Brahmana is that Brahmana only, or the namesake Brahmana. Where there is a Dharmic Raja, right? And she also goes back to this idea of this water body again in the next sloka, where she says, if you go, if there are like there is like a nice water body in India today, we have lions only in one state, unfortunately. But there was a time when pretty much lions, tigers, elephants had a very wide habitat. Man has abused all of it in the last even 200 years ago, elephants were there everywhere. That's how they used to have elephants as a part of their army, right? So she says, in water bodies where large quantities of large numbers of lions and elephants come, they both come at the same time and they are all drinking the water. And because of this stampede, the water body edges are all filled with what is it like muck, with a watery sludge, if you will. That she is telling it as an indicator of a healthy ecosystem. So, if you look at all the qualities of what she's been telling so far, if it is not for the human individual, where she talks about the individual's guna and karma, she's talking about a healthy ecosystem as the number two thing for prosperity. And ask yourself how much we are abusing nature, and despite all the wealth we are having, will that translate to real prosperity? You may have a lot of money that is flowing through. You may have $1 million today. Let's say that tomorrow you fall very sick and the treatment is very, very costly. What will happen? All that money would drain in a minute. And then she also talks about every houses where there are lots of elephants and cows and bulls and dharmic kings and things like that. She also talks about places where they have yagas and yajnas, where there is respect for the cows, where there is respect for the devas, where there is respect for the brahmana. In those houses she resides and she brings prosperity. And towards the end, she talks about all the four varnas doing their responsibility. She says that the brahmana has to be focused on doing work related to the Vedas. Second thing is the Raja has to be focused on upholding and dispensing dharma. The Vaisya has to be focused on the business they are doing and be energetic about it. And the last Varna has to be focused on proper servitude. That is, service is the key because they are in the service industry. So that is what they need to do. Lastly, she talks about all these are her expressions, where she stays and where she comes. But that is only in a non-physical way, because she is eternally residing in a physical form right next to Sriman Narayana, right in his heart and also at his feet. That's where her place of physical residence is, and she just focuses on that. So she, in the end, she says, whichever person she resides, right? Like if she is residing in a person with a person, she does some effect is seen, right? She increases righteousness in that person. If there is an increasing dharma in that person, you can take that person, even if he is not having money, if the dharma is increasing, then it means that the person is having Lakshmi's grace. If there is an increasing name, fame, wealth, all things what you desire is running towards you, that is proof of her blessing. So immediately people came and asked like, hey, what about those people who are abusing? They are also continuing to have all the money. There are so many people like that in society. How do you explain that? Those people who are doing that might have gotten it because of their prarabdha karma. But if they are not having these qualities which she listed, then it means that she is going to be packing her bags very, very soon. For example, I'll give you Pakistan. Pakistan had a per capita GDP much higher. Per capita income was higher. Lot of parameters were higher until 1980s, 1990s when compared to India. But they were and are immersed only in adharma. So today where they are? Look at Sri Lanka. They were the poster child of like, hey, look how cool they are making money. They are so much ahead. But they were doing everything in the path of adharma. So what happened today where they are today? So don't take a snapshot of what happened in a particular time and come back and say like, hey, they are doing all these things in the wrong way. It is only temporary. Remember in the Kali Yuga talks we saw that the bull of Satya is standing on 4 legs. Shaucha, Daya, Satya and Tapasya. That Shaucha is a very central idea which we have been losing. If you go to different parts of India, you will find how we are not even showing respect to even Ganga. Forget about other small rivers, we forgot that they are all important. The very cradle of our civilization, Ganga itself, we forgot and we have polluted it to such a level. So, cleanliness, we also say in English, right? Cleanliness is next to godliness. That's exactly why you see what happened now. The current government, I'm not again talking for or against polity. I'm just telling that the current government is focused on cleaning the Ganga and Yamuna. And then they started getting the different sites like Varanasi and Ujjain connected and all those things. Again, connectivity. Like remember, Lakshmi talks about transportation. And today we have the Ganga Vilas that is running and things like that, that is taking it to the next level. Do you think there is prosperity coming up because of that city? You better believe, because there are so many crore people have visited in the last few months alone. So all what Lakshmi has said is we are able to correlate it with actual incidents that are happening with us, and we can understand whatever she said is true. If our understanding is true, then why not follow the rest of the teaching of Lakshmi? So both in our personal life and in, so take time to educate your children and tell them, hey, these are the qualities we need to cultivate for you to have Lakshmi Kataksha. So there is also an element of, again, one thing she keeps repeatedly harping around again and again is dharma, harmony, dharma, harmony. She talks about harmony of thought, word and action. She talks about how alignment with dharma and positioning all our desires subservient to that of dharma. She talks about all these things repeatedly ad nauseum. So, when we also understand, we are really idiots that when we run behind and buy all these useless new age books, management books, personal help books, self help books, all these books we go and buy. But if you crack open Ramayana and Mahabharata and Bhagavatam, you got all that and a lot more. And wake up and realize the treasure trove we have. When you have a new age Baba or some sad guru who is giving you some lectures after stealing all these ideas and telling you, I didn't read all these things, it just came to me naturally. I was opening my eyes, one half, one closed. I get all these ideas. All theft. You can go and get to the source directly and you can bring prosperity to you, your family, and everyone around. Why don't we start doing that? Why don't we stop being woke? Can we waken up from that state? Can we start respecting our own Shastras? And then we have all the wisdom of the Rishis. See, there is this lie that they talk again and again in the society. Oh, Shudras were oppressed. Here, Lakshmi is telling how Shudras can be prosperous. There is no oppression in the ancient society. That is only a last 200-year construct, more based on lies, manufactured by, fabricated by the British colonial rulers. Later, our Indian politicians have taken these kind of lies and they have started tooting it so much so that they have vote banks. And today we have believed these lies so much that even if you show the truth, nobody is having the brain to even accept that that is the truth. Here you look in this particular case, Lakshmi is talking about the prosperity of all the four varnas. If it is like what you believe, like only Shudras are all poor people and things like that, all those are recent socio-economic political constructs. I'm not saying that is a good thing. We need to fix it in a hurry. No question on that. Every human being, every person, every varna has to prosper. But for you to spiritually progress, we have to focus on our swadharma according to Lakshmi. And let us all take time to focus on our swadharma, and let's start this revival process at our individual level. And then eventually that will spillover effect will happen to the society. And we already got so many pointers where we can act on the society. She gave example of water bodies, she gave example of how to take care of nature and things like that. So lots of tips are there. So with that, let me close the today's talk with the reminder that this is a 3-part series. So next week we will focus on what things we need to do to attract Lakshmi. So this week we saw where she resides and what we should do to avoid that. Next week we will focus on where we will what we should do to attract her. What kind of guna karma transformation we need to do to attract her. And the week after we will conclude it by looking at what we should not do to chase Lakshmi away from us. See, we are also specialists, right? In not only attracting but also in doing the wrong things. So we should pay attention to the do's and don'ts so that we can attract Lakshmi, retain Lakshmi, and be benefited by all her divine blessings. With that, let me end with the prayer to Mahalakshmi that she should give us the mental courage, mental clarity, buddhi, and the ability to practice all the advice she has given. She should give us the wisdom and the ability to practice it. We didn't know, but now we cracked open Mahabharata, we found out this. And today we saw Anushasana Parva, I think it is chapter 11. Next week we will look at Shanti Parva, we will go in reverse because we are doing in a different direction, right? So with that, let me conclude today's talk. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Krishna, Har Har Mahadev.